Alright, I've started my new YouTube channel. The views are flooding in. I've committed to seeing all the new movies that come out. What's next on the docket? Oh. Fine, I'll watch the Zendaya porn movie. Tom Holland is going through it right now. He fell in love with Zendaya back in 2017 when making Spider-Man Homecoming, and they've been happily dating ever since. Right?
Wrong.
2021. Zendaya joins Dune and has to spend years hanging out with Timothée Chalamet, Hollywood's newest twink heartthrob. 2023. Dune 2. Zendaya meets Timothy Sandworm. 2024. Zendaya gets put in a twink sandwich and all the marketing for her movie is about her cosplaying your mom's Thanksgiving turkey. Well, that's fine. She's building her career. That doesn't have to be embarrassing for Tom or anything. So, what's he gotten up to during that time?
How good is that dick, bitch? Oh!
Challengers was directed by Luca Guadagnino, the same guy who directed Call Me By Your Name, the movie where a minor Timothée Chalamet fucks a cannibal and a peach. We start off with a tennis match between two of our main characters, Art and Patrick. The whole narrative is framed around this tennis match as we jump backwards and forwards in time during the games to learn about the insane events that have transpired between our three leads leading up to this match. 2 weeks before their match, we are shown Art is an incredibly famous tennis player who is about 40 years old, past the prime of his youth, recovering from a back injury, and still playing professional tennis. He's managed and coached by his wife Tashi. They're in a hotel room with their daughter, and Art is showing some reluctance about continuing his career while trying to get a bit intimate with Tashi. She is not reciprocating at all and only talking about tennis and scheduling him more matches. He literally says, "I love you," and she responds with, "I know." She mentions the idea of putting him in a challenger tournament in Atlanta. Challenger matches are basically a tier of tennis tournaments which put players in a position to potentially qualify for the highest tournaments in the country. Crazy impressive, but it's far below Art's status as a huge, big deal tennis player. She's also looking at an Adidas ad campaign that has been proposed to Art, and it's a line of posters with both his face and her face on it titled Game Changer. And she angrily adds an S to it because she thinks, well, I'm a game changer too, it should be plural. Because Tashi was once a super prodigious tennis player when she was 18 till she got injured and put out of commission. So she vicariously and jealously lives off of her husband's prominence and involvement in the sport. We then cut to Patrick, who is on hard times and broke. He can't afford a hotel, so he sleeps in the parking lot of the Challenger tournament. Seeing him down on his luck builds up a bit of sympathy for this character, but this is the last time he will have any likability whatsoever in this movie. We then go back to 13 years earlier and find out how our trio all met each other. Art and Patrick were pretty much brothers, and they had been bunkmates at a boarding school together forever. We see them win the men's US Open in doubles and then go back to watch Tashi's match. She crushes her opponent and wins the girls division and screams, "Come on!" And it's a bit cringe. The two are smitten with her and chase after her at a party afterwards and tell her, "Hey, come back to our hotel room, we have beer." So she meets them there later. This scene is what half of the marketing has been about, and all the clips you have seen are from here. But it's not what you think. Basically, she invites them to sit on the bed with her, takes turns making out with them, then all three of them join in together in some weird TP formation, And then she leans back on the bed and makes this face that is in all the marketing. And when the marketing shows this clip everywhere, you think, wow, Zendaya is a pretty girl. Seems like she's about to get it like Tom Holland. Great. I've got to see that. But no, this is her watching the two guys make out with each other and loving it. After a good 2 minutes of me burning my eyes out, they notice what they're doing and turn their attention to her, and she says, "Alright, I should be heading back," and tells them that whoever wins their singles match they've got the next day gets her number. Patrick wins, and later Art is begging him to tell him what happened between the two. Art says, "Okay, if you put the ball in the center of your racket like I do when I serve, that means you bang Tashi." And Patrick does that, making Art very jealous. Art and Tashi later go to college together at Stanford and become a lot closer. And Art starts doing the whole cringe simp thing that guys do to taking girls, where they're like, you deserve someone who loves you. I know I would do that, my lady. And later she gets in a fight with Patrick because he asks her not to give him tennis advice and to just talk about boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. And Tashi, obsessed with tennis, storms out. So he decides, yeah, I'm not gonna go to your big tennis match. But at this big tennis match, she destroys her knee, putting her out of commission permanently. Art shows up as the simp, laying in wait for the moment the girlfriend becomes single, and when Patrick shows up to the infirmary, they both yell at him, Patrick, get the fuck out! Which is a dick move coming from Art, who's like a brother to him and clearly trying to take his girlfriend. This moment serves as kind of a best friends breaking up point for the two, and then we get the next 10-ish years where Art makes it big, Tashi marries him and remains bitter about tennis and becomes his coach/manager, and Patrick falls off in tennis and becomes broke. We see that Tashi has been pushing Art to play tennis way past his prime, and that given her obsession with tennis, he's worried that if he stops playing it, she's going to leave him. This is highlighted in a scene that takes place the day before the big match when Patrick ambushes Art in a sauna. Another scene that, is a bit too homoerotic for my liking. Patrick tries to get in Art's head by first appealing to their friendship and saying, I miss you, man. Then he moves to telling him that he should be concerned that Tashi is going to leave him if he stops playing tennis. And then Patrick straight up tells him that Tashi had an affair with him at some point in the last 10 years when Art was playing a match in Patrick's hometown of Atlanta. Art already knew about this because he saw them leave a bar together back then, but this doubly pisses him off and makes him feel all the more insecure. So that night, we get what I think is the most infuriating scene of the movie. In a vulnerable moment, Art tells Tashi that he doesn't want to play tennis anymore after this season. And Tashi's like, yeah, that's fine. And this makes Art so relieved, so he snuggles up to her in fetal position, all vulnerable, and her face just looks dead. She just got the biggest ick ever, because not only is she incredibly attracted to guys who love tennis and play tennis, but she knows that she won't be able to vicariously live through his tennis career after this. So then, after he opens himself up to his wife and seeks intimacy, she sneaks out in the middle of the night and goes to see Patrick in his car. She asks him to lose to Art, so that way Art will get his fire back and continue to play so she can still have that version of her husband that she wants. And Patrick is like, fine, I'll do it. And kind of floats out the idea that, hey, I should have asked you to sleep with me in exchange for this, And then she says, if that's what it takes, yeah, I will. So she does. According to the dialogue, he was going to throw the match anyways. And it doesn't really make it clear why he was going to do that. Maybe just because they're two old friends of his and he's feeling sentimental. But she sleeps with him regardless without them making a deal for it. And then it breaks your heart. She goes back to the hotel room and finds that Art, not having received intimacy from her when he needed it, he went to sleep in their daughter's bed, needing to feel close to somebody that he loved. So the next day is the big match, and we flash to the final few games. Art is leading because Patrick is keeping his promise to throw the match. However, Art is smack-talking him the whole time because he hates him after the affair years ago. This sends Patrick over the edge a bit, so when he's about to serve the ball, he holds it in the triangle of his racket, signifying to Art that he slept with Tashi the night before. And what happens next is pretty confusing, because the actions the characters take and what the movie wants you to think are left up to your interpretation, so I'll just present it objectively. After Patrick signals that he slept with Tashi, Art just says, fuck this, and lets Patrick win the next point, so they're all tied up in games. The two then duke it out in the final game, and the ball flies high in the air on Art's side. He jumps up, slams it down, wins the match, and he and Patrick fall into each other's arms in a big smiling hug and embrace, and Tashi screams, come on, like she did all those years before in the height of her tennis career. And then, folks, we cut to black. I know, what the fuck. I think it's really sloppy, but I have surmised a rationale for all that happens at the end of this film. When Art learns that Tashi cheated on him, he yells, fuck this, and lets Patrick serve past him. He hasn't wanted to be a tennis player for a long time and has been living Tashi's dream. So when she betrays him like this, he decides, you know what, screw you, and decides to throw the whole tennis match. But then he decides to play out the last point against Patrick going his hardest, and based on the fact that they're smiling at each other all through the last point and then end up having their big hug, we are to assume that Art is feeling his friendship with Patrick renewed again now that he has decided to swear off Tashi and actually do what he wants with his life. So he was thinking he was going to throw the match, but then he thought, hey, I'll play out this last point just like old time's sake with my rival. And I don't really find this too convincing because this guy has cheated with his wife twice and he hated him at the beginning of this day. But this is the only rationale I could bring together. Listen, this guy made a movie about Timothée Chalamet making a peach creamsicle. I don't think he's all there. Okay. This movie is weird, erotic smut, but I will say, I got pretty invested with Art near the end there. He's a good guy who works his way up in a craft and is good to his wife and kid and sticks up for himself at the end of the movie. Patrick sucks because he's a bum who doesn't accomplish anything with his life and then sleeps with his former best friend's wife twice. Throughout the movie, it's a running gag that since he's poor, he finds girls and guys on Tinder to go out with so he can have a place to sleep for the night. So he's a bum, no good, and he just uses people. And now the woman of the hour, Zendaya. Hey, her character is super cringe. She's a cartoon that's obsessed with tennis and literally never shows interest in anything else throughout the entire movie. All of her interactions with people are a means to an end to be closer to tennis or to watch better tennis. She gets the guys interested in her at the start because she wants them to compete for her and play better tennis. She marries Art right after her career literally ends because she wants to coach a famous tennis player. She fucks Patrick multiple times because he has a passion for tennis and also wants to fire up Art. And I really don't want to be mean, but I don't find Zendaya to be a good actress. Have people started to realize that there's a reason that all of the characters she plays involve bored women who don't change facial expressions from meh most of the time? In this movie, she mainly just acts unamused and grumpy and tries to look badass while playing tennis, which comes across as a bit cringe. Like, let me show you the physique of an actual 18-year-old tennis star versus Zendaya. And here's Serena Williams too, but I know she's a bit older. But Zendaya as a fierce competitive athlete honestly felt a bit forced to me throughout the whole movie, and her being cartoonishly obsessed with tennis didn't let me see her as a real person. And because one of the trio is a cartoon and the other one is a bum, the emotional resonance in this movie came from Art mostly, who you really sympathize with. I much would have preferred an ending where he just walks off the tennis court or forfeits the match after learning Tashi cheated on him, because it would be the perfect way of saying, screw you, I'm not living your dream anymore. Then maybe showing us an epilogue of him watching his daughter's soccer game, showing us that he's raising her in a way where she gets to do what she wants to do and is not being pressured to play tennis like her mom did to her dad. But nope, we got the misplaced final point and hug and homoerotic friendship rekindling and Zendaya getting what she wants and watching tennis. I think the director just figured, well, the film needs to end on a super exciting moment. It would make much more sense that Art would just quit the match, but that's not a thrilling note that I want to end on. Tennis climax, yeah. I just found the end to be a bit sloppy and the character motivations seemed to just be crossing wires and being incompatible with what the director was showing on screen. So the end didn't really hit too well. It was just confusing, frankly. But yeah, I will say at the end of the day, this is very girl YA novel type stuff, and it's a fun time to watch with interesting things happening in a kind of a MTV way of people just being awful to each other. But, you know, I give it a solid 4 out of 10. You guys will have to let me know what your favorite erotic smut films are in the comments down below. And I had fun making this one. Had fun watching it too, you know, as weird as it was. But I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.